Section 3. Privacy of Communication and Correspondence in Zulueta case. Case facts. Petitioner Cecilia Zulueta is the wife of private respondent Alfredo Martin. On March 26, 1982, petitioner entered the clinic of her husband, a doctor of medicine, and in the presence of her mother, a driver and private respondent's secretary, forcibly opened the drawers and cabinet in her husband's clinic and took 157 documents consisting of private correspondence between Dr. Martin and his alleged paramours, greeting cards, canceled checks, diaries, and Dr. Martin's passports and photographs. The documents and papers were seized for use in the evidence in the case for legal separation and for disqualification from the practice of medicine which petitioner had filed against her husband. Dr. Martin brought this action below for recovery of the documents and papers and for damages against petitioner. The case was filed with the Regional Trial Court of Manila, Branch 10, which after trial rendered judgment for private respondent Dr. Alfredo Martin, declaring him the capital or exclusive owner of the properties described in paragraph 3 of plaintiff's complaint or those further described in the motion to return and suppress, and ordering Cecilia Zulueta and any person acting in her behalf to immediately return the properties to Dr. Martin and to pay him 5,000 pesos as nominal damages, 5,000 pesos as moral damages and attorney's fees, and to pay the costs of the suit. The writ of preliminary injunction earlier issued was made final and petitioner Cecilia Zulueta and her attorneys and representatives were enjoined from using or submitting or admitting as evidence the documents and papers in question. On appeal, the Court of Appeals affirmed the decision of the Regional Trial Court. There is no question that the documents and papers in question belong to private respondent Dr. Alfredo Martin, and that they were taken by his wife, the herein petitioner, without his knowledge and consent. For that reason, the trial court declared the documents and papers to be properties of private respondent, ordered petitioner to return them to private respondent, and enjoined her from using them in evidence. In appealing from the decision of the Court of Appeals affirming the trial court's decision, petitioner's only ground is that in Alfredo Martin and Alfonso Felix Jr., this court ruled that the documents and papers were admissible in evidence and, therefore, their use by petitioner's attorney, Alfonso Felix, did not constitute malpractice or gross misconduct. For this reason, it is contended that the Court of Appeals erred in affirming the decision of the trial court instead of dismissing private respondent's complaint. Petitioner's contention has no merit. The case against Attorney Felix Jr. was for disbarment. Among other things, private respondent Dr. Alfredo Martin, as complainant in that case, charged that in using the documents in evidence, Attorney Felix Jr. committed malpractice or gross misconduct because of the injunctive order of the trial court. In dismissing the complaint against Attorney Felix Jr., this court took note of the following defense of Attorney Felix Jr., which is found to be impressed with merit. Legal issues related to the Bill of Rights. Issue: the evidence obtained can be held inadmissible as it violated his right of privacy of communication. First is the rights to privacy of communication and correspondence. According to Article 3, Section 3 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, the privacy of communication and correspondence shall be inviolable except upon lawful order of the court, or when public safety or order requires otherwise was prescribed by law. Whether the trial court's order to intercept and examine private letters between Zulueta and his counsel violated this constitutional right. Second is the right against unreasonable searches and seizures. In Article 3, Section 2, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures of whatever nature and for any purpose shall be inviolable, whether the interception of private letters constituted an unreasonable search and seizure.
The ruling of Supreme Court in the case of Zulueta versus the Court of Appeal. The Supreme Court emphasized that the right to privacy of communication and correspondence is inviolable. This right applies regardless of whether it is the wife who aggrieved by her husband's infidelity. The seized documents and papers are deemed inadmissible as evidence. The court states that the intimacies between husband and wife do not justify one of them in breaking into the other's drawer and cabinets to search for evidence of marital infidelity.
Significant principles related to the specific provision of Article 3. Significant principles from Zulueta v. Court of Appeals. The landmark case of Zulueta v. Court of Appeals significantly reinforced the constitutional guarantee of the privacy of communication and correspondence under Article 3, Section 3 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution. First is privacy of communication and correspondence in inviolable. The court emphasized that the right to privacy of communication and correspondence is a fundamental right that is inviolable, regardless of the relationship between the parties involved. This protection extends even to spouses. And number two is unlawful seizure renders evidence inadmissible. The court held that evidence obtained through an unlawful seizure, such as the unauthorized taking of private documents, is inadmissible in any proceeding. This principle ensures that individuals are protected from unreasonable intrusions into their private affairs and that the sanctity of their personal communications is upheld. And number three is the exceptions to the right to privacy. While the right to privacy is generally inviolable, the Constitution recognized two exceptions. The first is the lawful order of the court. When a court issues a lawful order for the seizure of documents or other evidence, the right to privacy may be temporarily suspended. And the second one is the public safety or order. In cases where public safety or order is at stake, the government may be justified in intruding on privacy rights, but only to the extent necessary to address this threat. By reaffirming these principles, the Zulueta case has had a lasting impact on Philippines jurisprudence, safeguarding the privacy rights of individuals and setting a high standard from the protection of personal communication.
Hello everyone, I'll be discussing about the personal reflection on our case digest on section 3. So the Zulueta case serves as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between individual rights and societal norms. While the sanctity of marriage is a cherished institution, it does not grant one spouse carte blanche to invade the privacy of the other. The Supreme Court's decision underscores the inviolable nature of privacy even within the confines of a marital relationship. This case has a significant implications for individual rights. It affirms that everyone, regardless of their marital status, has a right to privacy. This right extends to personal correspondence, documents, and other private belongings. By upholding this principle, the court reinforces the idea that individuals have the right to autonomy, and self-determination, even whether the intimate relationships. In a broader social context, the Zulueta case highlights the importance of respecting boundaries and consent. It teaches us that even in the most personal of relationships, there are limits in a personal relationship to what is acceptable. By recognizing the importance of privacy, we can foster a healthier and more respectful relationships both within and outside of marriage. Ultimately, the Zulueta case is a testament to the enduring power of the law to protect individual rights and promote social justice. It serves as a cautionary tale for those who may be tempted to violate the privacy of others, and a beacon of hope for those who seek to protect their own privacy.